You're sitting on the couch. The quiet between you feels incredibly heavy. He's scrolling through his phone. You realize you're mourning someone who is still sitting right there. Why does this keep happening? Is this just what long-term love feels like? Do I still care, or just get used to them? The distance isn't happening because your love faded away. It's happening because your nervous system stopped recognizing each other as safe ground to rest on. You are not failing at this relationship. Every couple that has ever loved deeply stands exactly where you are right now. By the end of this video, you will finally recognize the quiet behavioral shifts that prove their attachment walls are actually coming down for you. Let's get into it. Most couples believe pulling away means someone is permanently checking out. But the real truth hides completely beneath the surface entirely. When an avoidant partner retreats, it is rarely a rejection of you. Their nervous system is reading you before their conscious mind catches up. They aren't running from your love. They are desperately trying to regulate a sudden wave of emotional overwhelm. What looks like stonewalling is usually a flooded brain seeking quiet shelter. When safety leaves the room, the connection just goes underground. Chasing it only pushes their survival instincts into overdrive. Honestly, avoidant partners don't build walls to keep you out. They build those heavy barriers because they are terrified of breaking the good thing. Once you understand that shift, every confusing behavior finally makes sense. It stops feeling like a personal failure. It starts looking like a quiet plea for steady emotional ground. 1. The quiet invitation back. Here's the part no one talks about. Most couples wait for massive apologies. You actually notice healing in tiny daily shifts toward your connection. An avoidant nervous system only tests the water first. They are quietly checking if the floor will truly hold their weight. Not louder arguments, not more scheduled talks, not forced vulnerability, but two people finally dropping their heavy armor after years of guarding themselves. Watch how they lean into the room when you share your deepest stress today. They stop fixing your problems immediately and ask what you actually need most right now. You feel the shift when they choose presence. And that's when your partner stops feeling like a distant puzzle and starts feeling like a warm home. 2. The vulnerability test. And this is the one most couples never figure out. Most people expect instant emotional transparency. Real attachment growth happens when they share something awkward instead. Their brain is quietly learning that you won't punish their softness. They offer a small piece of fear to see how you react. Her brain is quietly registering, "He actually heard me this time." Notice the difference when you both face a heavy Tuesday evening. The disconnected version has them giving practical advice before you finish speaking. The connected version has them sitting close and simply holding quiet space for you. You stop feeling dismissed the moment they meet your emotion with steadiness. That's the shift that turns a relationship that feels like heavy work into one that feels like a true refuge. 3. The space they give back. This is where it gets really interesting. Most couples panic when their partner asks for breathing room. Secure connection actually requires rhythm between closeness and distance. Their nervous system stops viewing space as abandonment when you trust them fully. They learn that leaving for an hour doesn't mean leaving forever. Something in him is saying, "She doesn't need me to stay glued to her side." Pay attention to how they handle a sudden need for quiet. The disconnected pattern leaves a tense void and cold silence behind. The connected pattern returns with calm eyes and genuine warmth for you. You feel deeply chosen when the gap between you actually strengthens your bond. That's when you realize love isn't about constant proximity anymore. 4. The repair that lands. Here's what changes everything about this. Most couples sweep small friction under the rug completely. Emotional maturity means naming the rupture before it calcifies. An avoidant heart stays withdrawn until the cycle finally breaks open. They finally learn that saying sorry actually restores your shared safety. What's moving through her is, "I forgot how good it feels to be chosen." Watch how they respond after a minor disagreement. The old pattern shuts down and builds immediate defensive walls. The healing pattern steps forward and asks to understand your side. You experience profound relief when the tension dissolves without scorekeeping. That's the moment you both stop fighting to win and start fighting to reconnect. 5. The future they mention. But here's what nobody explains to you. Most couples wait for formal promises to know they are secure. Commitment shows up in casual language first. Their subconscious starts weaving you into their long-term mental map completely. They mention next year without even realizing they said it out loud. He's quietly planning your comfort into his next big life change. Listen to how they talk about upcoming weekends or months ahead. The distant pattern keeps everything strictly separate and highly vague. The attached pattern naturally includes you in their morning coffee plans. You feel incredibly anchored when your name lives in their tomorrow. That's the shift that turns drifting uncertainty into steady forward momentum. 6. The defense they drop. And this is where it gets real for you. Most people expect gradual emotional softening over time. Actual breakthrough happens when they stop guarding against your care. Their nervous system finally stops treating kindness like a potential trap. They allow themselves to be fully seen without bracing for impact. Not grand gestures, not expensive gifts, not performative romance. Just a quiet willingness to let you witness their unfiltered self. Notice what happens when you offer gentle comfort. The guarded version deflects and quickly changes the heavy subject. The secure version leans into your hand and actually breathes out. You feel a profound sense of becoming the safe place they always needed. That's when intimacy finally feels like breathing instead of holding your breath. 7. The conflict they welcome. Here's the part most couples completely overlook today. Most people avoid triggering conversations to keep the peace intact. True connection requires leaning into the friction together. An avoidant mind learns that disagreement won't destroy the foundation. They stay present even when their instinct screams to run away. She feels the terrifying freedom of finally being known fully. Watch how they handle your honest feedback. The reactive version immediately justifies and pushes your point away completely. The grounded version pauses and actually absorbs your perspective. You experience deep partnership when hard truths stay safely on the table. That's the shift that turns walking on eggshells into solid ground beneath you both. 8. The care that mirrors you. And this is the one that surprises everyone. Most couples keep emotional labor strictly divided forever. Healthy dynamics naturally blur those rigid boundaries over time. Their attachment style shifts from receiving to actively tending your needs. They notice your unspoken exhaustion and quietly step in. Something in him is saying, "I finally know how to hold you, too." Pay attention during your busiest working week. The disconnected pattern expects you to manage your own overwhelm entirely. The aligned pattern makes your coffee before asking how you are. You feel profoundly seen when they anticipate your needs without being asked. That's when love stops feeling like a transaction and becomes a steady rhythm. 9. The stillness they share. Here's what changes everything about this entire journey. Most people fill quiet moments with nervous chatter or distractions. Deep intimacy thrives in comfortable silence together. Their nervous system finally rests because the emotional war is over. They sit with you and simply exist without performing. What's moving through her is we don't need words anymore. Observe a lazy Sunday morning together. The anxious pattern constantly checks phones to fill the void. The peaceful pattern just holds your hand and watches the sun. You feel absolute belonging when the quiet actually nourishes you both. That's when the relationship finally feels like a permanent home. This isn't a checklist to memorize. It's an invitation to show up differently, and that changes everything. When you internalize this, you stop reacting and start responding. Your partner will feel the difference before you've even said a word. These aren't tricks for avoiding conflict. They are just what two emotionally mature people naturally do when they decide to stay. You stop chasing and start anchoring. And your relationship transforms from a daily struggle into a quiet sanctuary. The relationship you want starts the moment you stop waiting for it to fix itself and decide to become the steady ground it was always missing. Real intimacy doesn't begin when you find the right person. It begins when you finally choose to become the safe harbor they can trust forever. If this shifted your perspective, subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it today.